and goes to other countries, wealth leaves, and we lose the battle for talent, and then you end up short of money.
Secondary School Union, the ASTI's dismissed suggestions strike action by TUI members amounts to election blackmail. Hundreds of schools are set to close tomorrow due to strike action by the Teachers Union of Ireland over pay parity for new entrants. The Association of Secondary School Teachers in Ireland will ballot its members on industrial action over the same issue. Its General Secretary Kieran says action is needed.
I make no apology for being a trade unionist, and trade unions always try to do the very best they can for their members. And I can say in this instance we make no apologies at any point because of the horror of what has been visited upon our profession.
The UK and EU are set to go head-to-head over a post-Brexit trade deal. Boris Johnson and Michel Barnier have set out competing visions of the future relationship. The British Prime Minister insists there's no need to abide by EU rules after leaving the bloc, while Europe's chief negotiator says there must be a level playing field. And finally, the latest homeless figures released by the Department of Housing have come under scrutiny. They showed there was a record fall of more than 700 people living in emergency accommodation in December. However, charity Inner City Helping Homeless has asked for clarification after it suspects the report included adjusted figures. That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
Windy tonight with showers, heavy at times with some hail and wintry over high ground. Lowest temperatures of 1 to 3 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now then, welcome along. So Ronan O'Gara in the studio this evening. Much to discuss after the opening weekend of the Guinness Six Nations 2020. Pat Nevin will be on the football show. We'll also hear from Gary Breen. Billy Joe Padden will be along as well with his take on the weekend's Allianz League action. Plus, Cian Fahey on the Patrick Mahomes show. Last night, Kansas City Chiefs coming back from 10 points down in the fourth quarter to win Super Bowl 54, their first in 50 years. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. I think my mic was a bit dodgy there. Ronan O'Gara was what I said at the start. In studio this evening to talk about the opening weekend of the Six Nations. You're all very welcome. Richie McCormack, you are also welcome.
Thanks, Joe. You're very kind.
No worries. And Kieran Cunningham in studio, chief sports writer with the Irish Daily Star. Hello.
Hello.
How did you spend your weekend? Watching sport, I dare say?
Watching a lot of sport and then deciding that you can watch too much sport. So that's the reason I ignore the Super Bowl and NFL, because there does come a tipping point. Like Saturday, I was at...
What was your tipping point? Yeah.
Well, this is a general thing. Like just Saturday is an example. I was at Ireland, Scotland. I watched Liverpool, Southampton, and I watched Dublin, Mayo in the evening. So that's 3 games in one day.
That's
right.
Loud.
And then I watched a bit yesterday. Like I watched Tottenham and Manchester City yesterday, and a bit of the hurling. And you just you can't watch sport all the time. Like you have to have more to your life than that. You need a bit of Love Island to break it all up. You need to be able to distinguish which of the blonde twins has been kicked off and who Connor with a G is, and which Luke is which. You know all this. I know you watch Love Island. You can't deny it. So,
well, I have in the past. I have now. This year it's been a step too far. It's gone off a cliff for me. It's over.
Right.
It's over.
Like 2 series. There's like Winter Love Island and Summer Love Island.
There is, this one's in South Africa because
I think in the main, people have not got into it this year. Now, whether come summertime, they're more in the mood for it. That must be the big question in the ITV production rooms right now.
Yeah, well, I'd never watched it before this, but my wife and my son watch it, so I was kind of dragged in, and then because it's on. But there's a great book about cricket, about West Indian cricket, called Beyond the Boundary by C.L.R. James, and there's a famous line in that, like it's more socio-economic history of the West Indies as much as anything, and going into the post-colonial impact, of life there. But there's a great line like, what do they know of cricket that only cricket know? And that applies to a lot of things. Like if you watch sport all the time, I think you know nothing about sport. Like you have to leaven it a bit. And I don't get how people have the time to watch the Premier League all the time, to watch the rugby, to watch the GA, and watch golf, like watch all the things that most of us watch all the time, and then get into the NFL as well, and then stay up all night to watch the Super Bowl when you have to work the next day.
And tell us, how has Love Island informed your view of what happened on Saturday at the Aviva then? What did you make of the game?
It's a game we should never talk of again, really. Like it was...
well, coming up between 8 and 9, Ronan O'Gara will...
There's no real need to go into depth, like.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful stuff.
That bad?
Yeah. Like
2019 continued.
Yeah, like there was Brendan Fanning has a very good piece about the injuries, like Caelan Doris and knock so early, but particularly the Kilcoyne knock. Like he says, he talked to a front row forward who approached him as he was leaving the press box and who'd watched him, and like he wasn't able to stand on his feet, and like he'd been on for a minute, and Brendan Fanning puts it in the context of Eddie Jones calling for more brutality or whatever, or you know, some of these lines that Eddie Jones throws out deliberately, like he knows what he's doing, but Brenda's just basically making the point, like, look at the brutality that's there, and you sometimes do take a step back and you go, where the hell are we, you know?
I asked the lads on the TV coverage on the Saturday evening about the two incidents. More so, was there anything about them which we could pinpoint and therefore reduce the frequency of them? And they said the Doris one, in their opinion, was just rotten luck, that you have, you know, scrambled defence, everybody running back, people crisscrossing over each other, peripheral vision isn't always perfect, and just a clash of heads, terrible luck. Very hard to do anything to guard against going forward. It's just, you know, I think there has to be a baseline acceptance that if you play sport, you're at risk of injury, even at amateur level. And then on the Dave Kilcoyne one, Shane Horgan in particular was saying that actually that was down to bad technique on Kilcoyne's part. He had his face the wrong side. You know, cheek to cheek is always the real old school saying, ass cheek to face cheek, and he went the wrong side, so clash of heads. He was also quite high. Again, that leads you're very tempted then to say, well, should we lower the tackle height? But as we've said on the show before, the RFU at a lower tier level of English rugby lowered the tackle height, and concussions went up, because the lower down you go and you get into hips and knees, there are more moving parts. It's even harder to judge potentially then. So the neat conclusion, and it was only a 3, 4, 5 minute conversation, was it's very difficult to completely guard against that in a sport like rugby, unless you completely just transform what rugby is. And you know, in 100 years that may well have happened. Well, they've done a good job of transforming what it once was within the last 25 years.
Yeah, in terms of body shape and the power they have. No, that's the thing. The impact is like being hit by a 4x4 probably.
And my first exposure was the 91 World Cup, which is obviously partially played here. Completely different sport. It's about what's being played now.
Evasion then more so, wasn't it?
It's a little bit of what we saw from Rattez of France and Dupont at scrum half yesterday, and that's kind of, I guess, what got people into rugby a lot of the time. John Olomu came on the scene. People like that too. Very effective, and here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. But
what about Andy Farrell's demeanour in the press conference then?
I think he's very relieved, and he was very happy. Like he was very happy to get the win, because when you go in to your first game, there's huge pressure. You know, to win the first one, and particularly at home, and particularly coming off the back, you know, coming off the back of a bad World Cup, and being the successor of Joe Schmidt, you know, straight away if you lose, you know, you're in the back foot straight away. So
and Wales come to town, and then you got Paris and Twickenham to come.
Yeah, that's it. So it was very, very important for him to win. But you know, Stuart Hogg's mistake really saved his bacon, because that was just unsinkable. Like, and it was an insult to schoolboys to call it a schoolboy error, as Stuart Hogg called it. So.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we'll talk to Ronan O'Gara after 8 o'clock. And then one other thing. There was a fair old blast to Metallica.
Before kick. I thought that was Earlot had piped that in over Dave when he was doing the team.
For a horrible few moments, we were just as worried that our lot had piped Metallica in over Dave. But it was not him.
I'm good with it.
Dave McIntyre's team news with Metallica is now not a thing.
It might have been to wake up the crowd, because
no, I don't.
The crowd. There's a problem with the crowd at Aviva, a lot of them, in that they're just in and out to the bar the whole time. And it seems to be a networking thing, a business networking thing, or socializing thing. And it's really distracting. Like the amount, I don't see it in soccer or GA to the same extent at all now. And it's a constant stream, particularly after half time, because people go out for a drink and they linger over the drinks, and then they're coming back in with a couple of pints, carrying them back, and you just, why are you there?
But I suppose you can't take your pint back in the soccer matches.
No, you can't. No. But the one thing that always gets me about Irish international rugby games in particular, and I noticed it again on Saturday, especially given the nature of the relief that surrounded winning, and you know, it came down to the last couple of minutes, and CJ Stander's remarkable kind of grab of the ball towards the end, how quickly the noise dissipates after the full-time whistle.
Yeah.
It's It like you never see that at a Gaelic Games match, you never see that at a soccer match, whereby it'll linger for, good 30 seconds, a minute or two. Applause, nothing. And then everybody kind of trudges off and the music is piped in again.
But it probably depends on the game as well, and they're so...
I think this is I kind of was looking for that the past while. It just seems to be a general rugby thing.
Really? I presume after the New Zealand win, the place was raucous afterwards at the full-time whistle.
Very rare.
And a lap of honour.
Very rare. Like a win over Scotland, a win over Wales. Like the same thing will happen against Wales.
How excited could you get at full-time?
Of a win over Scotland. When you've beaten them for 10 years. Since Croke Park you've beaten them, haven't you?
They absolutely walloped them twice. Well, not twice, Murrayfield. But in the World Cup, walloped them, and now we're reduced to clinging on, 7-point win. Yes! We did it!
That's the problem, like, of a 5-game tournament. You've got two games that are essentially gimmies. That's an issue, and it's one that needs addressing.
Yeah, the Italian situation's getting ludicrous now. Too much sport. Kieran needs to have a word with his editor. 17 pages of sport in today's Daily Star, says Pat.
17? There's not more than 17. There's about... I would say around 50.
50 pages of sport?
Yeah.
Good Christ.
Yeah.
50?
Yeah, around that. On a Saturday and a Monday, there would be around that.
Well, then you can't really complain about too much sport, can you?
No, but you can't watch everything. Like, I didn't watch everything.
I don't have time to read 50 pages of sport today in the Star. Come on. Lads, I'll give you a tipping point. Stretford End, Saturday evening, United fans were giving heavy abuse to the majority of players and also Solskjaer at the end of the game. I was near the tunnel. Surprised how vitriolic it was, says Dave and Leash. I hadn't picked up on that, Dave. I thought it was more towards Woodward. Kieran's killing my buzz, lads. What's next? Chocolate's overrated. You can have too much sex, says this texter. Catherine.
I'm sure you can.
You can, yeah.
Throw him an old Snickers bar to cheer him up, says Catherine.
I'm very happy. That's why but I'm happy because I don't watch too much sport.
Well, there you go.
Like 5 games in a weekend is enough. Surely.
That's loads.
Balance is everything, Kieran.
Yes, 5 games in 2 days is a lot.
It's plenty, yeah.
It's not worth staying up till 4 a.m. to watch another one that basically is like maths homework. That's where it is. It's the trigonometry of sport.
The trigonometry of sport. Okay,
it's a sport for people who don't like sport.
Oh dear, okay. Oh, there we
go.
Like
Formula 1 and NFL. Sport for people who don't like sport.
Let's get the Newsround underway. Shall we? So, Shane Horgan was on OTBAM this morning.
Yeah, Leinster's Will Connors promoted to the Ireland senior squad ahead of Saturday's Six Nations visit of Wales to the Aviva. His provincial teammate Gary Ringrose has been ruled out for the game with Wales and indeed England following a procedure on a hand injury sustained in that win over the Scots. Tadhg Furlong is going to be monitored as the week progresses after reporting tightness to the calf, while both Quaylen Doris and Dave Kilcoyne are dates for Saturday as they follow the return to play protocols. Former Ireland winger Shane Horgan told this morning's OTBAM that Robbie Henshaw might not be the right option to replace Ringrose this coming Saturday.
I suppose Henshaw is the ready replacement there, but then that does make the midfield kind of a throwback to the last year, and is that the kind of midfield you want? Not too much subtly, I think Ringrose is playing so well, and is a really important element of what Ireland do. It'll mean that we're very solid and very physical, but whether we'll be as capable of taking the edges or not, I'm not sure. Other than that, I'm not sure if he will make any changes.
That's OTBAM, our sports breakfast show, which you can find every weekday morning from 7:30. You'll find it on offtheball.com, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and you can also start your day with Off the Ball and see our social channels for full broadcast details. Thought you were jumping in there, Joe.
No.
All right. 18-year-old Bevan Parsons was Ireland's hero as they began the Women's Six Nations with a hard-fought victory yesterday. Adam Grigg's side were 18-14 winners over Scotland in Donnybrook, helped in no small part by Parsons' breakaway try. The match winner spoke with their own Aisling Riley after the game.
So, Wavian, you had a super try out there today. I think you sprinted from one end of the pitch to the other. You must be absolutely delighted with the win.
Oh, we're so delighted with the win. Good to get the first one under the belt, settle our nerves, and I think our training for the last few weeks really paid off.
And so for you, you're only 18 years old?
Yeah.
So you're doing your leaving cert at the minute?
I am. Back to school tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how do you feel playing out there with some of the older girls? And obviously you're playing for Ireland at 18. Is it a pressure or do you just enjoy it?
Oh no, I love it. Like, I feel really well looked after by all my teammates, and I love being out there. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Back to school today.
Some stories for Newark at the start of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
What'd you do, Bevan? Well, won the game for Ireland in Energy Park.
Jack Kennedy then, terrible news.
Awful look for the Kerry jockey. He's been ruled out of next month's Cheltenham Festival. He fractured his right femur following a fall from Dallas State Picton at Leopardstown yesterday. The incident came in the race immediately following Kennedy guiding Delta work to victory in the day's feature, the Irish Gold Cup. Kennedy underwent successful surgery on the injury this morning, but no time frame has been placed upon his recovery.
A massive rugby fan, but the Aviva drink culture is terrible. It doesn't happen in Thomond, says Darren. Lads, D4 lovies dominate the crowd. It's painful. Plus, Andy Farrell jumping around and fist pumping was OTT, says John in Limerick. Oh, I think Andy Farrell's entitled to fist pump.
It's just his style.
Under the circumstances.
It did strike me because it's very different to Schmidt. Like Schmidt would, he was on his feet all the time. Schmidt generally sits down. He's a lot calmer. But it's like the difference between Jurgen Klopp and who's very placid on the sideline.
Solskjaer.
Well, I don't know who to be, because they're all, most of them are pretty.
Football managers, because they're at pitch level, are less inclined to be sitting there stoically.
Yeah.
It's easier for rugby managers, coaches, head coaches.
Who was the last successful soccer manager to sit there stoically? Like Wenger was animated, Ferguson was animated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mourinho.
I don't think any soccer manager can be, because they're so involved in the action.
Pellegrini, when he won the league with City, he's a very much sit in the dugout, hands folded kind of guy.
I suppose, yeah. Why is no one talking about the referee on Saturday? Absolutely disgraceful. He was the reason why Ireland struggled. No other reason, says Paul.
No other reason at all.
Also, who cares? Like, talking about referees is the most boring.
Yeah, I hate that.
Like, it doesn't matter. You mentioned the poor atmosphere in the Aviva. Was it a poor atmosphere?
I'm saying at the end it was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why many rugby supporters prefer the more tribal rugby atmosphere at provincial games. The terraces at Ravenhill, RDS, Thomond, Sports Ground are the heartbeat of Irish rugby now. We must keep the terracing at the redeveloped RDS.
Yeah, well, the Six Nations definitely is more, it's a big corporate event. Like there will be a lot of corporate tickets and a lot of clients compared to if you're going to a Leinster or Munster game. You know, it is like, you know, you either have 2 or 3 home games, so those tickets are bought. So there's it's not strict. It's not strictly a rugby. They're not all strictly rugby fans. A lot of them.
Plus, the Aviva is a very comfortable stadium. Well, I've always said the more comfortable you are, the poorer atmosphere it lends itself
maybe.
towards.
I think we're touching in. We're definitely flirting here with cliches and sports wars. Like, I've been at so many Republic of Ireland games where the atmosphere is terrible.
No, it's been terrible.
Dreadful.
It's been terrible generally for years.
So I don't think it's a rugby thing.
But I think that's a more reflection of what's happened on the pitch for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and off the pitch in terms of there's a lot of disgruntlement around.
They got to Euro 2016. Okay, so that's relatively recently, and you know, football tends to be a game where there is terrace chanting and there is an atmosphere, even in average games. Even like I've been at the Aviva where 10 minutes in, 8 minutes in, there is a deathly silence.
The very notion that
that's not because we've been stunned into boredom after 8-9 minutes. I actually think, you know, as a sports-going community, maybe we're just not that used to creating amazing atmospheres.
But the notion that they had to bring in a singing section to the Aviva,
that's what I mean,
is the first admission of a problem.
Whereas you go to the UK and they go to an international match, a lot of those fans are singing week in, week out. There's like a culture of it. We don't quite have that here now.
Yeah, well, you have it in the League of Ireland, you know, but you don't have it at with the international team.
What kind of numbers?
But like it doesn't transfer across. Like it's the same with the GA. A lot of you look at a lot of the championship games in the GA, like other than a handful, a lot of them don't have great atmospheres.
It's amazing. There's virtually no culture of singing at GA matches. Like Mayo.
Tip, 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 tip.
Come On You Boys in Blue is about the only one, isn't it? I would think. That breaks out during games, but otherwise there's no real singing. Now, by the way, I'm not saying the Irish are bad people here. I'm just saying, we're saying, the rugby lovey-doveys. I don't think that's necessarily fair or true.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Roy Hodgson, says Anne.
Why?
Boy.
No. I've seen Roy get flustered.
Yeah.
Dog Leash, pretty emotionless when his Liverpool team scored back in the day, says Gavin. I wouldn't have seen enough of Dog Leash in real time to know.
I watched a 45-minute video of John Barnes scoring goals at the weekend, so I kind of know.
Come here, what about this push to get Jordan Henderson Footballer of the Year? What do you make of that?
I'm a bit surprised.
Yeah.
I think he's incredibly likeable and he's turned himself into a much improved player. But to say that Henderson has been better this year than Van Dijk, I find... Yeah,
or even Mane. I know Alisson missed 9 games, but up to the last international break, Henderson wasn't great. He's been very, very good for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
But you do see this thing. It reminds me of when there was a huge push to get Scott Parker Footballer of the Year, and he got it in a season, the Football Writers Award, in a season where West Ham were relegated. And it reminds me of the push to get Ryan Giggs Footballer of the Year. And he got it in a season where he started 15 games and he was 36.
That was a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah. But I think there's this thing.
Henderson as well.
Yeah, there is,
I think there's this thing that with English stroke British players, that there is a point, because he's very likeable. He's a great pro. And they always love these kind of solid yeoman types. That he's a blood and guts type. Like, he will give everything he has. But you look at Salah now. Salah has this reputation as a diver, and he's selfish. But Salah's numbers are still outstanding. He's 18 goals. He has 13 assists. If you're talking about the key pass within moves, he's more than anybody else. Like, they're through the roof, but nobody talks of him as Football of the Year. And like, Liverpool could well win the Champions League again. And if you come down to the Ballon d'Or, who will get it? Like, it might be Van Dijk or Salah or Mane. Nobody will be talking about Henderson for the Ballon d'Or. So it's bizarre that he's now the favourite for Football of the Year. And I think it does reflect English football culture, that they prefer people like a Scott Parker or Jordan Henderson, that they see them as the exemplar of what they want, the attributes they like to put forward.
He's also been very front of house. He tends to pretty much do an interview after every game. He speaks very well.
He's a brilliant captain, and he's had a really good season. Like, I wouldn't downplay it, but he hasn't been their best player. Like, the Alisson stuff is remarkable. His last 29 shots, he's saved 28 of them. The last 50 shots, he's saved 46 of them. And even though he's won 9 games, he like, if they'd signed him 2 years earlier, what would they have done? Even without Van Dijk, because he has made such a massive difference. When you look at Mignolet and Karius before him, they've just...
Yeah. Well, it's gathered pace this weekend. I think I saw...
Yeah, Shearer has been pushing him. A lot of people are pushing him. I'd be surprised now if he doesn't get it, because I think players, particularly when they vote, they respond to that kind of stuff.
You think so?
Yeah. It happened with... it happened with the gigs thing as well, because it was kind of a media and pundits campaign initially.
He's massively influential, I suspect, in that dressing room as well as on the pitch. But he's not the player of the year, unless you take that influence he's had into account.
Like Trent Alexander-Arnold's numbers are made, and for Henderson's goal the other day, it was started by an incredible pass from Alexander-Arnold to Firmino, then Firmino squared it for Henderson. Like, he's been outstanding too. Like, they probably have 5 of the best players in their position in the world, so you can't say... It's a very hard call, but this thing now that he's the outstanding candidate doesn't make sense.
No.
Like, he has a shout, but to say he's head and shoulders above the rest, not at all.
It sort of blindsided me the way it seemed to be such a fait accompli.
Because a month ago you would never have thought of it. Now suddenly, week on week, people are saying...
Maybe people have just run out of new things to say about Liverpool. Now Henderson, it's Henderson month, and the next month it'll be Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's turn.
They've potentially got like 7 guards of honour coming their way towards the end of the season. It's insane.
There's no sign of that Snickers kicking in yet, lads. Now he's hammering Hendo. When was the last time Kieran was moved by sport? From Catherine again. Oh, when were you last moved by sport?
I enjoyed...
No, moved.
Moved by sport.
Your soul touched.
What?
Your very being.
When was it moved by sport? Like, talk for a minute and I'll think about that one.
Sarajevo 84.
Tor Valentine. Kevin Kilban, Dancing on Ice this weekend.
Right. No, it was a clash with Love Island, didn't it?
It did clash with Love Island. Well, actually, I don't know. So, what have we done? We did...
we did the rugby. We'll move on to the Kansas City Chiefs claiming Super Bowl 54 with a 31-20 win over the San Francisco 49ers in Miami overnight. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was named MVP, having led 2 fourth-quarter touchdown drives to turn a 20-10 deficit into a 24-20 lead, I should say. It's the Chiefs' first Super Bowl success since their 1970 win over the Minnesota Vikings.
Only the 3rd time in Super Bowl history a team has come back from 10 points down in the final quarter. We will be talking about that in about 10 minutes' time.
Tipperary had been awarded yesterday's Littlewoods National Camogie League meeting with Limerick. Match referee Andrew Larkin had recorded the game as a draw, with many present presuming Tip had actually won. The Camogie Association have since reviewed the game, determining that Tipperary were indeed 10-16 winners. This was the reaction of Tip manager Bill Mullaney to the confusion after the game.
Yeah, look, we thought we were up a point. We were watching the scoreboard. The referee was fairly unclear about what the actual score was. But he said he checked with everybody and he said it was a draw. But I think everybody in the stand and everybody, yourself in the media, thought we were up a point as well at the end.
Well, it's extraordinary, really. I mean, it's tempting to say that this wouldn't happen in the men's game, but we have seen horrific things happen in the men's game as well. Just a bad mistake. I'm sure the referee feels Dreadful. I mean, it's a hell of a bad mistake.
The fact that they included him in the review today as well, it's like,
Look, he's feeling low enough, I would think, today. He doesn't need us kicking him.
I have to stand up for myself. I've been moved by sport regularly. So, last year, Shane Lowry walking to the 18th on the last day. That was definitely very moving. Liverpool's comeback against Barcelona was extraordinary, and then the Tottenham one the following night. Thought they were incredible.
Agree with all them, yeah.
I found the Dublin winning the 5 in a row. I was quite touched by that, I have to say. Particularly the scenes after, in seeing what it meant to them.
I feel like you're having to justify yourself here.
I do feel, because I don't really like Love Island. I do like sport. I just want to make that clear.
Listen, you took the mantle here. You set the theme for the evening, not me. So I mean, we know you like sport. You spent your career working in it.
All I said was I don't like NFL. In fairness, because it's on the middle of the night.
It was a long way around towards you saying you have no truck for the NFL.
Well, basically, I don't have the time to get into it, because I want to do things other than
But you
sport.
also said it's...
Other than watch sport.
You also said it's like a maths exam on the pitch.
Yeah, you said it's for people who don't like sport.
Yeah, well, it's full of stats.
See? You don't like it.
Well, I don't like stats, particularly.
You've just provided a load of stats about Mo Salah and Alisson.
They're interesting stats. A lot of the American ones are really turgid.
As opposed to
they make expected goals look interesting.
You've just cited expected goals.
Didn't mention
more or less.
Key passes, there's a difference.
Don't.
Key passes and expected goals.
Don't even look for sympathy there.
I'm going to drag you out of this rabbit hole.
Okay, go on.
So, John Kiley has been talking about potentially hurling. Hurling, not played by cynical people ever.
Nope.
But the sin bin talk has made its way into hurling, and John Kiley had strong views on this.
He's damn opposed. The Examiner claimed last week that the sin bin could extend to hurling as soon as this year's championship. So speaking after Limerick's 119 to 14-point win over Galway at the weekend, Kiley voiced his opposition of the proposal.
No way. The game is fine. The game is fine, lads. You know, the game is absolutely 100% fine. There's nobody giving out about the game, really, apart from one or two. They're going to be giving out anyway. Yeah. So I think the game is fine. Leave it alone, please.
That's a classic hurling man response. Anyway. Yeah. It's amazing. Like, they've always, nobody has ever, within hurling, has ever said hurling could possibly be improved.
You do see cynical play in hurling.
Of course you do. You see cynical play in everything.
Yeah.
You can see cynical play in lawn bowls and croquet. Like, cynicism is part of human nature.
That said, as opposed to in football, especially a couple of years ago, it doesn't feel like an epidemic in hurling. It feels like a few.
It doesn't feel like this is like an absolute must-have.
But you get away with more. Like, I know, because when you cover a game, you have to. It gives me a pain, actually, because you have to. But
you do love sport.
Yeah, no, but a totting up frees, you have to count the frees.
Yeah,
which
sure.
I don't like keep track of frees, because you know, can disturb. You're trying to get into the flow of the game, whatever. But
maybe that's why you're not being emotionally moved.
No,
by games,
but it's often but it's often interesting with hurling, because you find okay, there's a free, and you take it and you go, right, there's 13, 14 minutes gone. And like in football, you might have had 8 to 10 frees in that time. Like hurling, really, they blow up for very little. They let a lot go.
That's a good thing, though, no?
Well, but they let a lot of fouls go. So
yeah, but
you know,
like, come on.
Like, I don't mind.
Let's not ruin the spectacle.
No, I don't mind that. But it is very different. It is very interesting the difference the way it's refereed.
They're different sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we always make these
But
comparisons.
they're under the auspice of the same organisation, who clamp down on a lot of things. Like, they've taken a lot of contact out of Gaelic football, and. Like, even at the end of the Dublin-Kerry game, like Marty Morrissey, they were laying it. It's a bit of push and shove in the end. And Marty Morrissey was on a bit unsavoury scenes in his commentary. And everybody watching thought it was great. Like, you do want a bit of heat and fire.
France-England yesterday was great.
When that kicked off, it was like brilliant. A fight. This has already been a good game.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of blows
but you always see that at any still photographs of fights and see the crowd behind. Like, they're all really enjoying it. Like, they're smiling.
Actually, it's part of ice hockey as well. Like.
Yeah. But it is interesting that hurling, there's, you know, Tommy Walsh will explain to it the next time. There's a lot of little tricks and little files and stuff that all the teams use, and they are cynical, but they're now accepted as part of the game.
I asked Tommy Welch when he first came on board with us, how were you so good in the air for such a small man?
Yeah.
And he has promised when he retires he will reveal his secret, but there is a secret. So I'm not wishing retirement on him, but I'm sure it's something nasty.
There's a string of raked Achilles up and down the leg.
So when he retires in 15 years' time or something, Tom may never retire.
I know, I'm sure it's not nasty. But I look forward to hearing it because he is just a legend, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now, West Ham.
Yeah, a statement from the club say they are disgusted to hear of alleged homophobic incidents at Saturday's game with Brighton. Met Police in London have confirmed 2 fans were arrested at London Stadium on suspicion of making homophobic gestures during the game. West Ham insist anyone found guilty will be banned for life and say they hold a zero tolerance approach to any form of discrimination. Graham McDowell's returned to the world's top 50 golfers for the first time since the summer of 2015. His victory at the Saudi International over the weekend saw him jump 57 places to 47 in the world. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy will return to the top of the world golf rankings when he tees off at next week's Genesis Open. It'll be the first time since September of 2015 that McIlroy has led the points list. GMAC, though, is hoping that the Saudi win can be the spur to an eventual inclusion in Padraig Harrington's European Ryder Cup team.
I'd love to be on the team, but there's a lot of things need to happen between now and then before I can get myself onto the team. I'm a little like Lee. I want to play my way onto the team. I don't want to have to rely on that pick. But we'll see. A lot of things need to happen. My schedule's going to change a little bit here. Maybe in Mexico, maybe in the Masters, things like that, you know. So we were trying to plan an Easter holiday with the kids the week of the Masters. That may have to go on hold now.
Just a very quick one. I just noticed the picture of him with the trophy there. I did a thing before. There are more ridiculous looking trophies in golf than any other sport.
Well, the jackets are the best.
Yeah. But some of the trophies, they're just bizarre looking. Yeah.
That thing is big. It's as big as the UEFA Cup, but looks ridiculously light.
It's the least of golf's troubles, the trophies. Which point well made. That's a massive win for him. His career kind of has gone off a cliff the last couple of years, but he seems to be getting things back on track. And the other story, very quickly, Richie, Finn Russell, just to mention, if people are wondering, the Finn Russell story, is he back in?
He's not. Okay. He won't be involved in the Calcutta Cup clash with England. He has been excluded from Gregor Townsend's 37-man panel for the England game, having obviously been omitted from the Ireland defeat due to a disciplinary issue.
Okay, thanks, Richie. Kieran Cunningham of the Star, go home.
Joe Molloy, TV's Joe Molloy.
No sport for you this evening? Love Island, followed by Netflix, followed by... watch a general election debate, maybe.
No. 2 Coronation Streets to catch up on.
2 Coronation Streets.
Okay.
2. Yeah. Thank you for coming in. We are all about Super Bowl 54 next.
Woo! Off the Ball on News Talk.
Relax this evening and visit itsforwomen.ie. Great value car insurance for those on the go. Get the cover you need day or night at itsforwomen.ie. It's time to own it.
Thinking of a new car for the new year? On Dundee, it's never been easier with Ireland's